Digital subscriber line, or DSL, was one of the original broadband technologies to get high-speed internet to the premises. Now, DSL lives on telephone lines, and in my opinion, it's kind of dated. So let's put some sepia tune up here, right? Let's fade it out. Ah, that looks a little bit better. DSL has been around since arguably the late 80s, early 90s, and pretty much nobody, whoa, wait a minute. Kill the sepia, guys. Let's bring it back up. All right. A lot of people still use DSL, and it's also on the exam, so I want to take a moment and go back in time a little bit. I had to pull some stuff out of the vaults here to talk about DSL. So DSL comes from telephone companies. So a telephone company would provide a special DSL capable line. This was the same line that your telephones were on. Remember when telephones were hooked on RJ11 cables? And what you would do is you would plug into your wall jack, you would plug into one of these. This is a DSL modem, Cirsa 1998. Now what I want you to do is take a look on the back here. So right up at the top, that's a connection for an RJ11. And this is how we would connect up to the telephone company. And down here, I'm trying to do this blind. Down here is a connection to an RJ45. And this is how we would connect DSL up in our homes. So DSL's been around for a very, very long time. There were two versions of DSL, still are. I got to keep using the past tense here. So when we're talking about DSL, we're talking about symmetric DSL, where basically the download and the upload speeds are the same. And then we have asymmetric DSL, where you have a very high-speed download and a very slow upload. You could use the same modem for these types of things. It doesn't really make much of a difference. So whenever you're dealing with DSL, you would buy one or the other. Symmetric tended to be much faster. The only other thing I want to show you on DSL in terms of equipment is this little guy right here. What we're talking about here is called a DSL filter. The problem you would run into is that the DSL signal's running on the exact same cable that your telephones are. And again, I'm talking about telephones that you snapped into a wall, and you wouldn't be able to use those phones because you would hear all this DSL noise. So these little guys had one job. If you had a regular telephone, not that anybody remembers those, I do, what you would have to do is you would plug this into your phone jack and then plug the phone into this, and this would filter out all of the DSL noise so you could call movie phone, or I'm trying to think of old stuff we used to do on the old telephones. The reason I need to be careful about saying DSL is old is really boils down to this, and that is there's still a lot of people who live on DSL. Super high-speed cable modems, even at my house, I have native Ethernet coming into my home, have begun to supplant this. But there is one place where DSL still lives. A lot of these companies that provide fiber to the premises, now there's exceptions to this, are actually using very high-speed DSL, or VDSL. It's the same technology, the same signal, except very, very fast, and instead of using old-style copper phone lines, it's using fiber to the premises. So it may look fancy, but it's really old-school DSL, just painted up a little bit prettier. For the exam, make sure you're aware of the existence of DSL. Make sure you're comfortable with the idea that asymmetric is the primary way we see it, and don't forget your filters.